Hey guys, this is John Kalam from KHL Motorsport, and this is the Contact Patch Podcast, where the rubber meets the road. This week, there have been many things that have gone on in the motoring and motorsport scene in the Philippines, and I'd like to take this opportunity in this episode to discuss some of them at the very least. The first thing in the motoring scene is Nissan has recently launched a new SUV. It's a B segment crossover and it's called the Nissan Kicks. The unique thing about this car, it is its power plant. Nissan calls it the E-Power. Nissan says that it is a mix between an electric vehicle and a hybrid vehicle. Normal hybrid power plants, as we know them today, are powered by both an electric motor and a gasoline motor, and they are powering the vehicle in parallel, meaning sometimes the gasoline engine will power the drive wheels and sometimes the electric motor will drive the drive wheels, and sometimes they do it at the same time. While a pure electric vehicle will just be powered by an electric motor and powered by the battery. What Nissan has done, instead of having a big battery pack, to figure out a nice medium between combustion engines and electric vehicles to serve as a stopgap or as the public's introduction to the future of mobility, which is electric motor powered vehicles. And so they came up with the series hybrid engine. I was actually confused when I heard about this. The local write-ups about the Nissan Kicks E-Power has been a bit lacking. I could not find what did Nissan mean by series hybrid. I thought it would be some sort of electric vehicle with a big battery, maybe like a plug-in hybrid that maybe you can charge and then the engine just kicks in when you are lacking of range. I thought Nissan came out with a plug-in hybrid style vehicle. However, it's not. While it has an electric motor and it has a battery that powers the electric motor, the source of electricity is solely generated by the gasoline engine. So from what I understand, it has a 1.2-liter gasoline engine, 3-cylinder. Its sole objective is to be the generator, creating electricity for the electric motor to charge up the very small, I think it's a 5 kilowatt battery that the Kicks has. The battery pack has just enough power to propel the Kicks in pure electric mode at a very short distance only. So it really relies on the gasoline engine. They tested it in Clark International Speedway. I think the journalists are pretty happy with the car, found the car pretty interesting. And I really find it weird also that Nissan decided to launch this kind of vehicle on the racetrack. But the Philippines is not the only market in which they decided to launch it on a racing circuit. I think also in Europe, they launched it in Spain at some racing circuit in Aragon. At least they were able to push those test units to the limit and to really get a feel on how acceleration and deceleration happens with this unique series hybrid power plant. It's interesting also that Nissan decided to launch it on an SUV platform. The SUV has really supplanted the sedan as the choice of the car buyer because the SUV has the height and the space. And in the Philippines, our concerns also about floods and the car being able to traverse a certain amount level of flooding. SUVs are more common vehicle, especially when they came up with a crossover. Concept of the crossover was very much popularized by Toyota with the RAV4. But from what I know, the RAV4 was one of the first ones to come out in the mid-90s, followed by the CRV, X-Trail, and all the other soft-roaders to come out from then. I believe that electric cars, electric motor propelled vehicles are really the future, and it should be interesting that Nissan has come up with this one. The price point for this SUV is not that expensive. According to them, it starts at about 1.2 million. So it's pretty accessible to the normal motoring buyer. More power to Nissan, and hopefully that it becomes a sales success for them. Another topic I would like to discuss is the no contact apprehension policy and the issues that are being faced by the motorists here in Metro Manila. Our shop is based in Parañaque. We are subject to the no contact apprehension policy. The local government unit of Parañaque, our city government, has placed several traffic cameras in important intersections in our locale. In a couple of occasions with my mom's car, we were able to receive traffic citations via mail showing photographic evidence that we have violated some traffic rule or roadside marking of some sort. All right, we paid for it, but other people are complaining with regards to this policy. According to this article by GMA News Online, published August 9, 2022, it is also a negative impact to operators of public utility vehicles like jeepneys, taxis, and whatnot. And the Land Transportation Office, the LTO, called on local government units to suspend and review their no contact apprehension policy because they have been receiving reports from PUV operators about paying fines for the violations of their drivers. I will translate his quote. We are studying this now. I believe that there is a shortfall in the policy that has to be revised so that the actual violator or the actual driver of the vehicle is the one to actually be responsible for the violation. However, the law provides that registered owners of the vehicle shall pay for the traffic violations committed using their vehicles. This is due to the concept of command responsibility. Since they own the cars, they are presumed to be the drivers, and they presume to be responsible for the people who they allow to use their vehicles. The LTO chief advised LGUs, which drafted the guidelines for the policy, to coordinate with the LTO and iron out the guidelines for the policies. LGUs and the MMDA, or the Metro Manila Development Authority, are the ones implementing the no contact apprehension, and LTO is just helping by sending an alarm about the vehicle in violation. What happens is when you violate a traffic rule and you're caught doing so using the traffic cameras and all, the LGU sends a notice to the LTO that to put an alarm on the unit so that the unit is prevented from being registered in the next registration cycle. And of course, the LGU sends again the traffic citations via mail. However, and what was also pointed out by the LTO chief Guadis also considered instances where the vehicle is already sold to another individual and the transfer of ownership is not yet registered with the LTO and a violation of the traffic rules was committed. Here is something that the LTO should figure out how to resolve because it's not very easy to change the vehicle registration. People just find it easier to just renew the vehicle and not change ownership because there's a lot of rigmarole to do so. There's additional payment and it's not easy. Of course, they don't make it easy to change the vehicle ownership in case of theft and all that. But on the other hand, when it comes to this one, it's also very difficult to do so. So I think the LTO itself has to look at their procedures on vehicle transfer of ownership and maybe try to make it slightly easier, or at least maybe new owners can at least give notice that they have bought the vehicle even though it's not formally transferred to them by deed, but at least maybe LTO should be informed and that fact should be in the LTO computers. I don't know. I'm not the right person to suggest. I'm just a mere podcaster, just a car enthusiast, an ordinary car guy. But that's one thing that they should really look at. I'm sure they know what is best for the motoring public. But that's one issue that's top of mind that they should really look at. Basically, this article shares the people who are really complaining, those who are egging the powers that be to do something about it, is basically two groups. One is the public utility vehicle operators, the owners of taxis, jeepneys, and whatnot. And the other group are the motorcycle delivery riders. Congressman Robert Barbers of Surigao del Norte, he complains a lot of motorists, especially those motorbike drivers engaged in delivery services, are being penalized with enormous fees without due process of law. While the policy intends to discipline erring drivers, the public should be enlightened about the details of its implementation to curb or stop abuses by the implementers. Barber's quotes, "The system is laudable, but the implementers, I was told, are imposing excessive fines and could be violating the Constitution since there is no due process of law. Likewise, there is no law, ordinance, or regulation prohibiting vehicle registration due to non-payment of fines for traffic violations." That's interesting. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to dispute that statement by Congressman Barbers. But he also points out one important thing. If the MMDA were the only forum where these erring drivers caught on monitors could file grievances, complaints, and protests, then the agency would then virtually become the accuser, judge, and executioner. This article really shares some of the problems that the no contact apprehension policy of the several LGUs in the Metro Manila area, such as, of course, Parañaque, Quezon City, Manila, and Valenzuela, apparently. So there are four of them so far, and the most problematic, I guess, based on the population of people living there, is of course Quezon City and Manila. For me, I think it's good. What bothers me on a personal basis is, like, when you're on a stoplight, that's kind of the best place to use your cellular phone. And then, of course, we have a law now that prohibits you from using your cellular phone while driving. Allegedly, there may have been instances that certain podcasters have been using their phones and have found it very convenient to do it while on stoplights. And I understand that the pros outweigh the cons on that instance, and on many instances also. It also avoids a lot of graft corruption and the awkwardness of talking and negotiating with your apprehending officer regarding your traffic violation. Whether true or contrived, this development in our motoring situation is still a work in progress, and hopefully things are gonna be able to be ironed out for the benefit of the motoring public moving forward. Jason. If you don't know what's going on in the latest thing that's happening in Philippine motorsport, it is really this guy who literally punched through a wall to get with a certain renown and repute. It's a guy named Jason. He's a kid. He's a kid, actually. Younger to me, definitely. Who was driving a silver Altis, learning how to drive. But unfortunately, he suffered from terminal understeer and he punched through a corrugated steel wall of a warehouse in a place called R33 in San Simon, Pampanga. If you're a newbie, you will tend to drive not very well. So I don't really judge him for that. It's quite interesting that at least he has ended up in the news cycle or in the social media cycle for a time, while other people have mocked him. Other people have commended him for learning how to drive his car to a safe environment. Even though he ended up in an accident, at least he did it in a safe area. So I commend him also for that. At least he's not doing crazy stuff on the street. But what was missing is expert instruction. So thankfully, at least two organizations have stepped up to teach him how to drive. The first one was Race Form, headed by Don Pastor, and the other one was the Automobile Association Philippines. And also to repair his car, there have been a lot of sponsors and organizations that helped him, that is helping him out in the repair of his car and also hooking him up with car accessories and performance parts for his Altis. So that's pretty nice and all. But the counterpoint again to that, everything has a counterpoint. In Tagalog, maraming humuhusga, maraming pumupuna in anything that you do. The counterpoint to all the generosity that Jason is being able to get from many organizations and individuals is the bitter people, me myself included. I am an ampalaya. That why is a person getting sponsorship for basically being an idiot driver? During my 17 years of motorsport experience, I wasn't able to get that much outpouring. There were people who helped me out in my career. A notable example was Crew in Fairview. A lot of people gave very sound advice. I was very thankful of those. I'm thankful of my mentors. But to the level of just people giving random stuff and performance parts. I mean, for me, uh, I had to buy everything. When I was younger, of course, I had to cajole my parents to fund my hobby. But as I grew older, it's just me who was funding my hobby. So we can't help but be a little bit jelly with regards to Jason. But isn't that the irony of life in motorsports that you do something stupid, you get rewarded for it? But when you're actually doing your job to make motorsport safe, and then you're the one ending up being blackballed from motorsport events. Kinda ironic, but that's life. With those two things that you're putting together, you're comparing those experiences together, you realize why did you waste 17 years of your life in motorsport? As a motorsports competitor, as a motorsport participant, as a motorsport professional. That's why I feel there are also some sectors of the motorsport community that have been demoralized when it came to this situation with Jason. It's like all their efforts to perform, to succeed, to win, to compete, and spend all amounts of money, all amounts of time to win, to try to achieve some renown. And then you just have to look for a wall and hit it, and you're already known. uh, that's why again I reflect on whether I should have just looked for a more meritocratic hobby. Upon reflection, motorsports basically stumbled into my lap. I never wanted to become a Formula 1 driver. I never. Formula 1 was interesting. Cars going around in circles with engines that make uh, very nice noises, with drivers at other times robotic, at other times very interesting and colorful. Formula 1, while I was watching it from time to time, it was never my dream to drive. I wanted to build my own Formula 1 car. I wanted to know what would it be like to develop a car that would perform to those unbelievable standards to compete in the upper echelon of motorsport. My dream was never to be the best driver. I really wanted to build cars. I wanted to build my own car. I was looking up to Henry Ford. I was looking up to Soichiro Honda. I wasn't looking up to Michael Schumacher, Mika Hakkinen. Well, I preferred Hakkinen to Schumacher, but I digress. But my experiences in motorsport, especially as a driver, and attending also many seminars and seeking out mentorships on how to drive, I think it will allow me, and it has allowed me to know what a good driving car should be like. Even though my skill set as a car builder is still a work in progress, but at least I know what a good car should be like when you're driving it on the absolute limit. And I'm thankful of my experiences. And moving forward, it will allow me to build great cars that I would enjoy. Really, I'm a bitter gourd, but I admit it, I am human. Using my head instead of my heart, I'm just happy for Jason to have these opportunities. I hope he does not squander it. I hope he learns from it. I hope he becomes one of the best drivers that the Philippines has, and everyone has that potential. And at least he has one leg up against a lot of the newbies, that he's getting instruction from some of the best in the industry. Yeah, Jason, good luck with your future endeavors. But in case I join races again, and if you happen to be competing, I will definitely try to best your time. I'm gonna try to beat you, so be prepared if ever. Hey guys, this concludes our third episode of the Contact Patch podcast, where the rubber meets the road. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our episode sponsor, KVI Quiklube. KVI Quiklube is your source for wheels, tires, batteries, and lubricants in the Sucat, Parañaque area. So do check them out on their Facebook page, facebook.com/KVI Quiklube. If you mention the Contact Patch podcast when you buy anything from them, you will definitely receive less 5% off list price of any tire, wheel, battery, or lubricant that they sell. So do mention the Contact Patch podcast to KVI Quiklube and receive 5% off list price. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. Hope to see you guys in the next episode. So stay tuned for that, and see you next time. Ciao.